All right, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can generate hundreds of leads using Claude for cold email. As you can see from the screen, we have generated just a little bit over 300 leads for our client in the last few months. And this is just one client, one workspace in our software, which is People.ai. I'm going to leave the link to it in the description below. But we've gotten a almost 40% positive reply rate, over 800 replies, right? So that's a pretty impressive number, because that essentially means that out of 10 responses that we receive, 4 of these are positive and asking for more info, or interested qualified prospects asking for more info or wanting to open a call with our client. So I'm going to share with you the exact process that I use to write cold email scripts that get these results with these high positive reply rates and high performance with Claude, exactly how I do that and exactly how you can do the same. And so let's get into it. Whereas to show you that you can do the same, you can use the same process for literally any company, any offer, any product, as long as of course it's a B2B offer that can be or can be sold via cold email. So to show you that you can use the same process for any company, any offer, any product, I'm going to pick a random company that I asked ChatGPT to output for me, and this is going to be Siemens. This is funny because we actually got a positive response from a Siemens manager a couple of weeks ago for our client. But we're going to write scripts for Siemens, right? And specifically one of their products, which ChatGPT gave me in output right here. And this is apparently a controller. I have no idea of what it is. So, this is just to show you you can use the same process for literally anything. This is an advanced programmable logic controller, PLC, designed for industrial automation. Cool. So I asked it to output as much information as possible, as many details in depth as possible about this product, because and I asked ChatGPT specifically, not Claude, because ChatGPT has the research the web function. Claude doesn't, I think. So we're gonna have to get as many details and as much information as possible to then put into Claude and then have it write the cold email scripts, right? So I'm gonna essentially copy and paste all of this and then put it into Claude. And then I'm going to say, I'm using Claude Projects, by the way. So I'm going to say, now, given the information below about this product by Siemens, please help me write a cold email sequence that's going to be targeted at, let's see, one of their target markets, automotive manufacturing companies in the US, and that leverages the value propositions and the key features of this product. You know what I'm going to do as well is, first, before writing the script, I'm actually going to do this. Review the following information and details about this product by Siemens and understand the target audience specifically for the industry automotive manufacturing. Output job titles that would be relevant to reach out to and go after for specifically this offer and this product, and understand their pain points, their problems, their needs, their wants that can be associated with this product and that this product can help them solve. So do a research on this target market specifically for automotive manufacturing companies that can use this product. Cool. So let's start with that and let's see what it comes up with. Cool. So we have a bunch of information about the target market, specifically automotive manufacturing, and their job titles, their pain points, their problems, their let's see here. So we have a bunch of info here that we can use to write cold email scripts, right? Now so the first thing that you do when it comes to testing or doing cold email for a new offer that you've never done cold email for or never done outbound for is testing value propositions and offers, just to see and just to understand what works the best, right? So there might be different value propositions within an offer or within a specific product, which can be associated with like benefits, right? There might be specific different benefits that you can use, that you can leverage to sell a specific product or offer. And the first thing that I do, at least personally, is I run a cold email campaign to test these value propositions and see which is the value proposition that works the best, right? And then afterwards, we're going to focus on that value proposition and test other things, test other variables, which could be scripts, could be lead magnets, could be something else, right? So I'm going to say, now review the information you just gave me in output and determine the 3 most impactful, most important, and biggest value propositions that we can use to leverage we can leverage to sell this product to the target audience, right? So let's see here. Select the 3 value propositions and then write more info and do more research about them. Cool. All right, now we have 3 value propositions, which are product line flexibility and reduced changeover times, advanced diagnostics and predictive maintenance capabilities, integrated security and data integrity for connected manufacturing. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test these 3 value propositions in the first step of the sequence. That's typically where you test scripts or where I test angles. At least that's where I do test these value propositions in the first step of the sequence. And then I'm going to ask Claude to come up with the first sequences, right? So I'm going to say, now help me write 3, or actually 1 cold email sequence with 3 variants for step 1 of the sequence, 3 steps total, and 3 variants for step 1. In those 3 variants in step 1 of the sequence, you should split test the 3 main value propositions that you gave me in output and nothing else. The rest should be the same. You should focus on testing these 3 value propositions in the first step of the sequence. And then the follow-ups, which are step 2 and step 3. Actually, let's just do 2 steps, not 3. Let's just do 1 follow-up. The follow-up should be more generic, considering all the value propositions that you gave in output. Cool. So we're going to do steps because I typically almost never do 3. So let's just do 2 steps, just because it will work better. So typically, like the first step of the sequence will get the highest positive or highest reply rate, also highest positive reply rate. So we're gonna focus on 1 and 2 emails, right? So, and I'm gonna say, make sure to follow all the cold email best practices that you have in the resources attached in this project, and make sure to follow all the output requirements. The emails should all be shorter than 70 words and should not use spam words, and should be straight to the point, easy to understand, in 4th to 5th grade writing level, without giving up on the technical language that is necessary to get these prospects and these job titles interested in this product and in receiving more information about the offer. So it is important to say and to give output requirements to Claude, otherwise it's going to output some random stuff. So what I did here, this is actually a Claude project. I gave in input a bunch of resources of hundreds of pages of cold email copy that we wrote internally for our clients, and as well as other resources that I found online I found super useful. For example, Josh Brown, resources from Josh Brown. Credit to him, especially when it comes to poke the beer questions. I love the way he's writing those questions. And so this is just to say that this is not a completely new Claude chat. You need to give it some context, some examples for it to work properly and to give a decent output, right? So I think we're good. And then I'm just going to say I'm just going to see what it comes up with and then adjust based on that. Typically, I don't need to adjust the sequences too much. They're pretty good overall. So variant A, okay, let's just wait for Claude to do the entire thing. And so from what you can see here, I think the output is already pretty good. I'm gonna read some of these just to show you, but this is pretty insane. Like I don't know anything about this offer, don't know anything about the product, and just look at the scripts. Like this is not too technical, but it's already saving me, hours just to do my research on the product and the value propositions and the offers and everything, right? So I'm gonna read some of these. For example, here, subject line, change over times at company, not too bad for a subject line. Notice, if you go to ChatGPT and you ask for a subject line, it's going to output some random stuff that's super salesy, and so this is already pretty good. Notice automotive manufacturers often lose 5 to 10% of production time during model changeovers. This is already pretty good because it did the research. I'm not sure if that was data from GPT or from Claude, but anyway, it applied the research and applied some specific numbers to the research, just to show the prospect and make them understand that this is the problem, right? 5 to 10% of production time lost during model changeovers. Semantic S71500 controllers reduce changeover times by up to 75% with digital recipe switching for different vehicle models. pretty good. I mean, there is the end outcome of 75% reduction in change over times. It is pretty good. And so the basics of cold email are there, right? Like it is showing the pain point or the problem. It is explaining the value proposition or the offer or the end outcome, the end result, and then the case study. Like there's a social proof. It is pretty complete, right? Several plans using our system now handle 55,000 part variations across multiple platforms with minimal downtime. Pretty good. I mean, that's honestly really good. Would cutting your line change over time be valuable right now? I don't. This is kind of my personal opinion. I don't like this too generic call to action of like, would it be valuable? Would it be useful right now? I'd rather just say, would you like to see a 2-minute video showing how it works or something like that, something that's more specific. So that's something I'm going to tell it to change. Besides that, I think we have, variant A is production line flexibility value proposition. Variant B, predictive maintenance, downtime costs, a company name as far as the subject line, pretty good. Unplanned downtime costs, automotive plans up to 50,000 per minute. It's pretty insane. Semantic S715 under controllers detect potential failures before they happen with integrated diagnostics that model 800 plus automation components. I mean, to me, this is pretty insane. Like you're showing the pain point and then you're explaining how the product, again, I don't know anything about this product. You're explaining how the product can solve the pain point. It says that can detect potential failures before they happen. And it's pretty insane because it costs 50 grand per minute, right? Manufacturers using our system have reduced machine downtime by 30 to 50% while extending equipment life by 20%. It's pretty good. I mean, you have all the basics of and all the requirements of a good cold email and a good outbound messaging. A good script, right? Because you've got the pain point of the problem, you've got the end result or the offer, the value proposition again, and then the social proof here with potential case studies. Now it doesn't have any information about specific case studies of okay, this company got XYZ results, but it's showing generic case studies and generic end results and social proof about specific this product and specific companies similar to the industry that we are reaching out to, right? And then pretty generic call to action. Again, I don't love this too much, so I'm gonna ask you to adjust. And so variant C, I'm just scanning through this. It's pretty good already. And production security, yeah, pretty good. Step 2, this is the follow-up. I don't, this is of course something that you have to manually adjust these things because AI is not going to be perfect. I just don't like to start the follow-up with just checking or just following up because that's literally what everyone is using. So I'm going to tell it to adjust this. So just checking my last email about Siemens sparked an interest. I don't like this too much. Beyond what he mentioned, these controllers also deliver fast processing speed, the precision motion control for robotic assembly. And so what I would do here for follow-up, I don't like this follow-up too much. So I'm going to say these outputs are already pretty good. Now I just want you to adjust the call to action at the end of each of the variants for step 1 of the sequence that you gave in output. And it has to be the same call to action because we are testing value propositions. And so if we are testing one variable, we cannot test other variables at the same time. So it has to be the same call to action, and it has to be something that's softer. Something like, would you like to see a 2-minute video showing how it works, or something like that. And then as far as step 2, so the follow-up, I of course don't use a subject line because it's going to be in the same email thread. And I don't like to start with just checking in or just following up because it just reminds the prospect that they already ignored the first email. And so you need to start with something that catches their attention and is better at, essentially catching their attention, right? And then also focus step 2 of the email sequence on answering potential questions and objections about the product and that prospects might have about the product and about the offer that we mentioned in the first step of the sequence. Now, this might be a little bit hard for Claude because we are doing different value propositions. We're using different value propositions in these variants for step 1, and therefore it will just be a little bit generic in step 2 unless we do a separate campaign for each of these value propositions. And therefore, each of these step 2s is going to have the questions and objections. It's going to answer the questions and objections for that specific value proposition and that specific way we position the offer, right? And so the way that the reason why I'm saying this is because that typically when prospects don't respond to your first outreach attempt, your first step of the sequence, it's either because they're not interested, so there's nothing you can do about it, or they add questions and objections that you weren't able to answer in the first email for some reason. Maybe it was because otherwise it would have been too long, which is fine, or yeah, it's typically because otherwise it would be too long, right? So usually what I do in the step 2 of the sequence is I just tend to answer these objections and questions, because that's how you get more positive replies. That's how you get more responses from prospects. If you say the same things in the step 2 as in the step 1, no reason for them to respond, right? I mean, unless it's just a reminder, they didn't respond to you because they forgot about responding, then that'll work, right? But typically it's because they either have some questions, objections, or they're not interested. So we're gonna try to do what we can in step 2 of the sequence, and so we're gonna answer objections and questions. If necessary, please define these objections and questions that prospects might have about the offer and about the product before you write the email script, so that you can understand what we're talking about. Cool. All right, so as you can see, pretty good. I mean, it gave in output a bunch of objections and questions. For example, implementation complexity, wouldn't switching to a new control system disrupt our current production? Cost concerns, sounds too expensive, what's the ROI? Integration with existing systems, will this work with our legacy equipment and other vendor systems? Train requirements, would want our staff need extensive training to use this new technology, and so on and so forth, right? We've got a bunch of these objections. And now the first step, let's see, we have to see a 2-minute video. Yeah, that's basically call to action I gave it. So that's good. So now the follow-up is starting with, I saw your plan recently expanded its vehicle model lineup. That's exactly when our semantic solution proves most valuable. Now, there's something I like and something I don't like about this follow-up and about specifically this opener. What I don't like is that you cannot assume that you cannot assume that you noticed their plan recently expanded, because if it's not true, then that's a fake assumption, and therefore it's surely not going to get positive responses, right? So what we can say though is we can do some sort of personalization in step 2 if we wanted to do it with AI, by essentially looking or searching for this company specifically, or this company that we are reaching out to specifically, and finding any news, any updates about the company, and for example, see if they recently expanded their plan, right? In that case, we can say this. But in alternatively, like otherwise, if you, I wouldn't say this by default, because if it's not true, then it's just a bad look, right? What I do like about this follow-up and about the opener of this follow-up is that it listened to me, and because I didn't like the just checking if my last email sparked any interest, and so it adjusted the follow-up and it said, I saw your, this is personalized, right? This is relevant, right? If this was true, then this would be extremely relevant, right? So I like how Claude came up with this adjustment. And then we have many manufacturers worry about implementation disruption, but the system installs alongside existing equipment with minimal downtime, right? So it answered the objection of implementation disruption. Our engineers handle integration with their current systems. Cool. The ROI typically comes within 9 to 12 months through reduced change over times and prevented downtime. Now, this will be custom to the company, of course, but I like that it answered the objection of where's the ROI, right? So overall, this is cool. And also, I like that what I did here is we have 7 objections or questions that we could answer. It still decided to make this email pretty short, because in the output requirements that I gave in input, I mentioned that the email, the end script, the copy of the email needs to be shorter than, I think, 70, 80, 100 words or something. For step 2, it doesn't really matter that much. It matters more for step 1, but I do like that it respected that rule. And the step 2 is still pretty short, pretty straight to the point. It's not 200-word long email, with in an attempt to answer all of these questions, all of these 7 objections that he gave in output, right? So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the output. As you can see, it is actually pretty simple to write good cold email scripts for your offer, any product with Claude. And so I hope that this video was valuable. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, just let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.